Hey everybody, Sean here from Somm Wine Club, and I have got some wine for you. This is the 2021 Clos Cibonne Tentations. This is a rosé from the Côte de Provence. It's part of the June 2023 Somm Wine Club box. Now, Clos Cibonne, for those of you that are familiar with the producer, their bottles don't usually look like this. This looks way too traditional. This looks way too much like other Côte de Provence. And it is. But I want to talk a little bit about Clos Cibonne, their history, and why this estate is so special before we get into talking about the Tentations. So, Clos Cibonne is an estate in Le Pré in the Côte de Provence. It is a historic estate that's located in this really unique little bowl with hillsides that kind of face towards the ocean. So you have this beautiful little amphitheater of grapes that they grow. And what Clos Cibonne is best known for, perhaps kind of idiosyncratically in the Côte de Provence, is for utilizing a nearly extinct and fairly rare Provençal grape known as Cibonne. So Cibonne was planted at this estate by the Roux family, who bought this estate from the Cibonne family in the 1700s. They planted the estate to Cibonne, and through the generations, the Roux family kind of caretook this land until about the 1980s or so, when the estate had fallen into disrepair and just was kind of lacking a direction, lacking a focus and a purpose. The grandfather, or the granddaughter of André Roux, who was the one that kind of really established Clos Cibonne, took over the estate. Her and her husband kind of wanted to bring Clos Cibonne back to its former glory. So starting in the 1980s, they started working to continue utilizing the traditional techniques of the estate, which involves these ancient 100-year-old plus oak foeders. What Clos Cibonne's rosés are done that makes them really unique is not just are they using this fairly rare grape variety as the majority of their blend, but these rosés are also aged and fermented in oak, which for most rosé is uncommon. That's not how most rosés around the world are made. But this long extended aging in oak casks gives these wines, or oak foeder rather, the big ones, gives these wines an uncommon amount of dimension, texture. They are incredibly ageable, but they are well known for that particular style of rosé. So when people think about Clos Cibonne, it's the classic burgundy-shaped bottle with the picture of the estate on the label, the gold and the red capsule, and these kind of salmon-colored, beautifully orangey hued rosés that are aged in neutral oak foeder. The Tentations is a kind of anti to that style. Not necessarily anti, but complement. This is using younger Cibonne vines from the estate that don't make it into their tradition label, as well as Grenache, Cinsault, and Syrah. Grenache, Cinsault, Syrah, Cibonne in that order of blend. And it is meant to be kind of a gateway drug for Clos Cibonne. It's meant to get people in the door, to introduce them to this rather obscure grape variety and to the wines of this estate that they then can give you the other, more, for them, traditional styled Clos Cibonne once you have gotten your teeth into this one and you're like, wow, these wines are really great. And they are. This Tentation is spectacular. Just like the name says in French, Tentation means temptation. It is an extremely tempting and extremely enticing wine to have in front of you and in your glass. So they are in Le Pré, which is one of the villages of the Côte de Provence. In the 1950s, Clos Cibonne was was classified as one of the Cru Classés of Provence. So they have this incredible history and story to tell. And this is the first chapter. This is the way that we introduce you to the estate of Clos Cibonne. Very classic yet different Provençal nose. There is that kind of underripe wild strawberry, there's cherry, there's these like faint red fruit characters, there's a little bit of orange peel, like candied orange peel, there's a ton of kind of light floral character as well, like citrus blossom or rose. But everything about it is just so kind of interspersed with mineral character and this salty sea air from being so close to the kind of Mediterranean coast. They're obviously they're in Provence. They're right on the ocean, or right on the Mediterranean here. There is something, and I know this isn't a word because I've looked it up, but transportative about Provençal Rosé, where you see it, you smell it, you taste it, and you are taken. You are just picked up, body and soul, and you are transported to Provence, to the south of France. You find yourself on a beach, eating fresh seafood and looking out at a sea of blue and white umbrellas. Just, there is a classy kind of elegance to their wines, to these rosés. And purposefully, there's something very alluring about that imagery and that style. But it's just so profound when you have a really good Provence rosé, how clear those pictures become in your mind's eye. Rosé with texture, rosé with flavor. This is not watery. This is pale in color, but by no means is it pale in intensity and flavor and concentration. There is a wonderful mouthfeel to this wine. It's not entirely linear. They do a little bit of lees contact in the stainless steel tanks that they ferment in to keep the wine from being too sharp. They want it to have a little bit of side-to-side movement in your mouth, a little bit of rounded texture. And mission accomplished. The wine is, like I said, wonderfully dynamic, fresh and lively, but at the same time carrying a ton of complexity and a ton of flavor. The fruit is fleshier, if you understand what I mean, on the palate, where on the nose it's kind of like subtle and elegant, and then you put it in your mouth and it's like pop. It has backbone, and I love that about a really good Provençal rosé. Now, obviously, everybody's going to want to just crush this bottle. No food, no nothing, just like pop, pour, hot day on the patio. Absolutely, go nuts. Do it. It's going to be delicious, but you're going to want another bottle for dinner. And I'm sorry that you only get one in the box. This wine is a great food rosé. Like I said, because of that concentration of flavor, and because it is not watery, it is not light, it's not overly simplistic. We just kind of coming to the tail end of fresh spot prawn season, but if you still have an opportunity to get some fresh spot prawns, just something so simple, just lightly sauteed with a little bit of good olive oil and herbe de Provence, and what you have, that natural sweetness from the prawns, kind of picking up on the fruitiness and the roundness of rosé. It'll also work if you want to put in just a pinch of like Espelette, which is like a Western French and Northeastern Spanish pepper kind of powder. You could use pimento, you could use a little bit of chili flake. You can have just a little hint of spice if you want to kind of add that extra element to a dish. You could do this with fresh oysters or mussels. You can do this with tomatoes. You could do this with like a burrata salad with fresh cheese and tomatoes and basil. And you think about the similarities between northern Italian on the Mediterranean and the south of France, you're only a couple 100 kilometers apart at most. So things like pesto are great with wines from this area and this region because they have enough substance to stand up to strong flavors, but they're also going to be refreshing and tart and just energetic and lively, and they're going to help cleanse your palate at the same time. So, like I said, think regional to an extent, or just think West Coast and think about all the things that we enjoy here, and you will find matches, you will find pairs, you will find an elevated experience, and one that is akin to just sitting on the beach in Nice or in Le Pardet on the Calanque and just looking out at the ocean, because that's where my mind is right now. Thank you very much for letting me tempt you with the Clos Cibonne Tentations. I hope you enjoy this dynamic and really unique expression of Côte de Provence that offers a ton of value and deliciousness. I'm excited to share this with everybody. If you like this video, please leave a comment. We can talk more about Clos Cibonne, about their other wines, about their unique expressions of Cibonne, both rosé and red. So thanks very much, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.